Coming in at number 5, we've got the cherubim. A mainstay in the home decor of grandmothers and churchgoers everywhere, folks tend to love cherubs. They've got chubby little cheeks, lovely little wings, and a whole lot of resemblance to babies. Unlike babies though, cherubs tend not to scream and cry and crap everywhere, which might actually be part of their appeal. But these angels are not as they seem. Sure, they gained quite a bit of popularity in art that depicts them as lovable little lads and lasses, but that's not really what they're supposed to look like. A lot less people would want to hang them in their homes if they actually resembled the way they're described in some texts. So their quasi-human form is about the only part they got right. Otherwise, cherubim are jam-packed with terrible features that would probably give kids nightmares. First off, they don't have just one face, they have 4. One of a human, one of a lion, one of an ox, and one of an eagle. That's a lot of freaky faces. Add in 4 wings and you've got a wild and crazy creature. But the basic appearance of these things is just the beginning. Those who behold the cherub might notice that it always appears as if it's on fire, for reasons. And apparently they were often accompanied by another indecipherable being. A half machine, half creature full of whirling crystalline forms, these interlocking wheels stared down upon folks with hundreds of eyes that covered their entire bodies. Imagine that, being visited by an angel, and instead of seeing a calming, serene humanoid dressed in white, you're greeted by some awful chimeric abomination and its pet crystalline wheel. Insanity. No wonder folks who claim to have seen angels went nuts. Although I think it would be pretty wicked if grandmas started putting art up of these cherubs in their bathrooms. Coming in at number 4, we've got weeping angels. While these are technically only angels in name, they're still some of the most terrifying creatures to have ever been dreamed up. Introduced on the ever-iconic television program Doctor Who, weeping angels are a species of quantum-locked humanoids. They look like statues of humanoid angels, often standing with their faces covered by their hands. This gives them the appearance of weeping, thus the name. However, don't go trying to comfort them. That would end very poorly for you. The reason they cover their faces is to avoid ever accidentally locking eyes with another of their kind. Doing so would trap them both in that moment forever, or at least until someone physically moved them out of each other's eye line. See, these so-called angels are essentially angels of death. They feed off the life force of living beings and have found that the best way to do so is to feast on the remaining time energy of those they have sent back in time. If a weeping angel manages to touch you, you will be sent back to a past point in your life and live the same bits over and over again until you meet with your doom once more. An endless time loop facilitated by this statuesque creature that wants to eat your potential. Whatever life a victim would have had left in the tank is siphoned off by these angels, who then travel through time to find more victims to take. Some claim that this is a kind way to kill someone, as they still exist in the past, able to live the nice parts of their lives over and over again. However, at some point, weeping angels discover that it's a lot of work to do and end up snapping people's necks instead. Lovely. The creepiest part has to be the way they move though. They can only move about when they're not being observed, meaning that as soon as you break your line of sight with this thing, it can whiz around behind your back and get you. This makes for some very tense and scary moments where every time you look over your shoulder, a statue has somehow gotten closer to you. Again, they're not truly angelic, but boy, are they worse than demons. Coming in number 3, we've got the Watchers. First of all, any organization known as the Watchers is going to be creepy. That's just creepy names 101. Second, you know Noah's Ark? The story of God telling his chosen dude that he's going to flood the whole world in order to hard reset all the sin that's accumulated? Well, the Watchers can essentially be blamed for all that sin. This group of angels managed to fly under God's radar for a while and made their way down to Earth. See, the Watchers saw some of the beautiful women on Earth and found themselves unable to really focus on anything else. Wanting to marry these mortals, the Watchers rebelled against the rest of heaven and went down to Earth to have a good time. While there, they lived hedonistic, overly sexual lives and taught humans secret knowledge too. It's said that the Watchers were the first to teach people about weapons, which obviously ended up in brutal violence. Also, the kids they had with human mothers turned out to be a little abnormal. You might be conjuring up images of Greek demigods right now, but that's not the case with Christianity. Instead, these human-angel hybrids turned into 1,000-foot tall abominations and started killing and eating people. They also forced humans into slavery in order to produce more food, which, good stuff. Way to go, Watchers. Very responsible. Teaching these lower beings about weapons and makeup and then breeding them to make ungodly abominations. In the end, though, God did take revenge and lock these angels away, but damn. Not even the devil could come up with a plot to so thoroughly f everything up. Coming at number 2, we've got Belial. If you're a fan of this channel, you've probably heard this name before. However, we don't usually talk about Belial in a biblical context. Now, we're talking about Basket Case, a classic. However, the surgically removed basket-dwelling monster got his name from this horrific angel. Fitting, especially when you realize what the original Belial got up to. Created right after Lucifer, he was one of the first angels to revolt against God, and that's just the start, too. Belial led an army against Michael, resulting in untold amounts of carnage. Each army took 3 wins, and only during the 7th battle did God intervene because he wanted to make sure that Belial lost. For an angel to revolt against the others and then do unspeakable things against the others during battle, that takes a lot of power. And lots of terrifying evil too. Man, even the strongest from hell were once angels, eh? And coming in at number 1, we've got Raphael. To round it all out, let's discuss how even the holiest of forces are capable of the absolute cruelest of acts. Like, unimaginable torture that lasts lifetimes. I guess we already knew all that thanks to Dante's Inferno, but let's take a look at a very specific, pointed act of malice for a second. Raphael. Although he's not one of the named angels in the New Testament, he has become associated with healing and stirring the pool of Bethesda. However, just because he's associated with healing doesn't mean he can't bring the pain. Known for fighting the demon Azrael, he eventually triumphed over this force of evil. So what'd he do when he won? Did he banish the demon, purify its soul? Nope. He bound their hands and feet together, found a big hole in the desert full of rocks, and then cast the demon into this pit. Apparently, that demon waits there until the day of judgment, when he will then subsequently be cast into a pit of fire. Holy smokes, that is a hardcore punishment. I guess the demon deserved it in some way, but geez Louise, that's just gotta suck. I'm not sure if folks should find it comforting or not that these supposedly holy beings are so absolutely terrifying. Like, if you ever saw one with your own 2 eyes, it might have a Lovecraftian madness-inducing effect on you. Seriously, angels are scary. Coming in at number 5, we've got the angels of Paradiso. Like I said, not all the angels out there are intrinsically linked to major religions. Some are inspired by said worship, but can take on totally new and unimaginably freaky forms when inserted into certain narratives. Enter Bayonetta, ancient gun-toting, hair-wielding witch with a hate-on for these divine beings. In the combo-fueled games, players take control of what Sarah Palin wishes she was in order to punch, kick, whip, and torture the ever-living crap out of these radiant figures. It ends up being a little deeper than that, of course, but I'll leave that to Top 10 Gaming or something. I specifically want to talk about how terrifying the angels in this game are. Taking inspiration from all sorts of pre-existing angels, although the Judeo-Christian is extra strong, these gold and marble-skinned freaks of fancy are down to annihilate anything that gets in their way. The angels are divided into 4 spheres of influence, each increasing in power. Even the lowly members of the 3rd sphere are terribly powerful and look the part too. Bayonetta can handle them no problem, but imagine facing down one of these monstrosities on your own. Inhuman in form, but often adorning porcelain human-shaped masks, these things are the embodiment of uncanny valley nastiness. And as the games progress, these holy abominations get freakier and freakier. Some of the smaller ones have quasi-human figures, but geez. The big angels are exactly what you would expect from a biblical angel of some sort, all fire and whirling parts. Like, look at Belief. This thing has dinosaur legs and an enormous tentacle arm. Then there's Enchant, who reminds me of the wheels that are said to accompany cherubim. And of course, who could forget Fortitudo, the 2-headed dragon with a gigantic upside-down human face as a shield/diaper. These things are incredibly designed and super terrifying because of it. If I had to choose between fighting these things and demons from another game's universe, you know I'd take the demons every time. One has to wonder who would win, the angels from Bayonetta or the demons from Doom? Or even more controversial, and don't kill me for this one, Bayonetta versus Doom Guy. I'm not even gonna weigh in for fear that I'll incense 1 million fans on either side. So I'll leave you with the mental image of a marauder fighting Lustitia. Coming at number 4, Seraphim. Keeping with the theme of imps for a second, now we've got another order of angels that are a whole lot freakier than we often give them credit for. Seraphim are flying serpents. What else do I need to say, honestly? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that folks don't often associate flying snakes with angels, but here we are. These winged, wiggly forces are meant to hover above God's throne, singing about how excellent and divine and fantastic he is, which is all well and good, but just think about that for a second. Why would God, the Almighty, the creator of everything and all that is good, need a bunch of snakes to fly around literally singing his praises? It seems like they're doing their best to convince anybody who might hear of it. Who else needs a PR team running around making sure that everyone believes they're actually really good? In addition to their sketchy job descriptions, they're just plain weird looking. They fly around with 6 wings sprouting from their backs, 2 for their actual airborne maneuvers and 4 to cover their faces. Oh, and also their feet. Yes, these flying, praise-ridden snakes also have feet. So are they dragons, or do they just have like little feet dangling out by their tails? Unless you personally plan on meeting some angels, we may never know for sure, but that image is not a good one. In some writings on celestial hierarchy, the seraphim are described as such. The name seraphim clearly indicates their ceaseless and eternal revolution about divine principles, their heat and keenness, the exuberance of their intense, perpetual, tireless activity, and their elevative and energetic assimilation of those below, kindling them and firing them to their own heat, and wholly purifying them by a burning and all-consuming flame, and by the unhidden, unquenchable, changeless, radiant, and enlightening power, dispelling and destroying the shadows of darkness. So if you've ever found yourself influenced by the shadows of darkness, good luck. You know, demons tend to do their best to influence good people to do bad things, but they can, usually be resisted. Angels seem to just want to destroy anything that goes against their vision of holiness. Food for thought. Coming in number 3, we've got Azrael. Back to some more traditional angels now, which, even if they're not quite as delicately fleshed out as some of the storylines from our previous entries, provided inspiration for these more in-depth atrocities. The OGs always command respect. So let's talk about the Archangel of Death, Azrael. A lot of folks have conceptions of the Grim Reaper and similar entities from across time. Azrael plays this role in Islam, carrying souls to the afterlife and coming for those whose time is up. Something tells me that a lot more people would go in peace if Azrael was a little, less abjectly horrifying. It's said that he has 4 faces, 4,000 wings, and a body covered in eyes and tongues. Now, at first, the eyes and tongues thing isn't so bad. Like, it's bad, but not the worst thing ever. But apparently there is one for every human on Earth, which, to me anyways, is pretty much MIL seduces humans to sin in order to bring them out of the woodwork. Satan does it as a pure act of evil. He now rules over hell and commands armies of demons and sinners. This alone should put him at the top of the worse than demons list. He appears in many texts throughout history, with a particularly famous one being in Dante's Inferno. Here he's half frozen at the center of the 9th circle of hell, gnawing on the ultimate sinners with his multiple faces. He's also depicted in many famous works of art, often as a hideous beast meant to terrify, but also as a powerful commander, leading his armies of the damned. Lucifer is a powerful cultural force, acting as the antithesis to God. You can't have good without evil, and Lucifer plays the latter role very well. More angels for your compendium. Just try not to think about them right before you go to bed, It's tough to sleep when you picture horrible heavenly figures flying around above you. Coming in at number 5, the Gate Guardian. Just like in part 2, I'm going to kick this list off with some less than biblical beings of light and fire. First off, a fan favorite from across the channel will bring up an SCP that may or may not be an avenging angel looking for any excuse to smite some folks. For those who don't know, SCPs are community-generated beings and phenomena that can't be explained by the regular laws of reality. There are a few that qualify for 001 status, basically a group of top secret theories and proposals that may or may not exist, meant to keep folks from finding out too much about the real deal. One such theory is Dr. Clef's proposal, popularly known as the Gate Guardian. Nobody at the organization meant to secure, contain, and protect these anomalies, known as the Foundation, really knows exactly what this thing is or how to deal with it. It has been described as an enormous humanoid figure made of fire with wings sprouting from its back. Apparently it wields a gigantic bladed weapon made of fire that has been measured emitting temperatures hotter than the sun. It stands still with its head bowed and has done so for many years since discovery. Any human that gets too close to it will hear a voice in their head, one so loud that it can't be ignored. Usually this voice gives a directive of some sort, and to this day no person has been able to act against said directive. The most common one is forget, after which the affected individual simply forgets they saw it and goes on with their life. However, people in positions of great power have been known to receive other directives like prepare. Ominous. The name Gate Guardian comes from the fact that this angelic being seems to be standing in front of an immense gate, which guards a pastoral grove upon which 2 fruit trees grow. In order to prepare for whatever this thing seems to want from us, folks at the Foundation have a wild amount of contingency plans, including keeping close ties with leaders from all world religions, having a supply of religious symbols, items, and scriptures, and lots of options in case other anomalous beings are released during a rapture of any sort. It seems as though at some point the gate guardian will leave its post and the gate will open. When that happens, who knows what the result will be. A transmission from the future was received by the Foundation, essentially saying that the rapture had come and it was beautiful, eventually devolving into praise-filled gibberish. Simply knowing that this thing is present somewhere on Earth is spooky enough, but add in the doomsday soothsaying and the ability to control people's minds? Wow. Oh, and also, folks that are forced to get closer to the Gate Guardian after it gives them a directive are simply vaporized by the thing. At least demons try to reason with or trick people before drowning them in flame. Coming in at number 4, we've got Evangelion's angels. Oh yeah, we're not done with the alternate universe angels quite yet. If you thought some of the angels featured throughout Bayonetta were freaky, we're just getting started. Context matters when you're looking for how scary something is, and in this case, the angels from Evangelion are probably a whole lot freakier than the ones we've previously mentioned. Think about it, 15 years after a catastrophe the likes of which the world has never seen, and then all of a sudden some inhuman, godlike creatures touch down and start to destroy everything. Worse still, the only way to fight these things is to put some traumatized teens into enormous biomechs and make them fight to the death. That is a scary situation. There have been plenty of different interpretations of these angels over the years, with some folks theorizing that they represent some sort of messenger from beyond our understanding of the world, and others think that they're a proto-form of life coming back to reclaim the earth. Regardless of how you understand their purpose, they're extremely powerful, impossible to negotiate with, and looking to methodically eliminate everyone and everything on the planet. And while some of them have vaguely humanoid shapes and relatively easily understood powers, others can be absolutely eldritch in nature. Take Belial for example. It takes on the appearance of a gigantic black and white sphere with an impenetrable defense. Anything that attempts to hit it will phase right through it, and Evas that go up against it often end up in its pocket dimension. Or how about Azrael? Appearing to be an enormous bird made of light that can ruin your brain from outer space. When Asuka went to fight it, she ended up experiencing her own personal hell. She relived all of her darkest and most painful memories during the fight and could only eventually take it down by using the Lance of Longinus, a weapon that can cut through any AT field. Then there's Shamshel, who looks like an enormous member. Each angel from Evangelion is terrifying in its own way, and they each find new ways to make the EVA pilots' lives living hell. And those are all the people that can actually do something about these monsters. A regular person just has to sit back and watch as these cosmic entities plow through Earth's defenses like a bull in a china shop. Goodness gracious. And don't even get me started on the beings like Adam and Lilith. Maybe next time. Coming in at number 3, we've got Michael. Now, we talked about Lucifer last time, but we didn't go into great detail as to how he got the way he is. Every supervillain has a supervillain origin story, and Lucifer's involves a massive fight with the Archangel Michael. That's right, Michael managed to defeat Lucifer and his army of uprising angels and cast them down to Earth. He even labeled Lucifer Satan, meaning adversary. Now, I'm sure he didn't mean to, but in doing this, Michael cursed Earth with a new devil. Sure, throughout his career as an archangel, he did a lot of good, but the good-evil dichotomy means that the more good Michael does, the more evil will occur, right? Coming in at number 2, we've got Gabriel. Another archangel. It was only a matter of time before we brought them up again. Gabriel is known as an angel of death, judgment, and menstrual cramps, if you can believe it. Those first 2 seem par for course, but number 3 is a new one. Definitely something that half the folks on Earth might take issue with, right? In the Bible, whenever Gabriel appeared before people, he scared the ever-loving bejesus out of them. I think we've established how unsettling angels can really be, even in all their resplendence, but apparently Gabriel really gave Zechariah a start when he popped up in a supposedly empty temple. Add in the fact that he threatens to take away people's voices, and you've got quite the upsetting entity. See, when Gabriel shows up somewhere, he wants to make sure that folks are listening. He's a messenger of God, after all. So what does he do? He says that if you do not listen to and believe his words, you'll become mute until those things occur. Talk about forced compliance. Or I guess you can't talk about it at that point. So write about forced compliance? And finally at number 1, Abaddon. You know what? If a haunted hotel from a found footage series featuring a terrifying clown and more than one portal of hell is named after you, you're probably scary. Shoutouts Hell House LLC. Oh, also shoutouts Abaddon, aka Destroyer, aka Angel of Death, aka Torturer of Earth. Should I go on? Imagine having all those nicknames. Folks would be terrified of you. There are a lot of different interpretations of this particular entity, ranging from archangel to ruler of the abyss to being confused with Lucifer himself. One might think that these disqualify Abaddon from being on this list, but personally I think these mixed details make him even more terrifying. Like, the fact that so many depictions of Abaddon are terrifying for different reasons could mean that he's overall a truly dangerous and scary angel. It seems as though he's the angel meant to oversee the destruction of Earth on Judgment Day. He also might simply be a place for lost souls, a hopeless pit akin to hell. Still, not that pleasant, is it? And really, Abaddon is mostly known for being a torturer of humans, a punisher of sins. Flying in the face of the idea of a caring and forgiving God, Abaddon is who everyone should fear, whether you're a perfect follower who's never made a mistake, or a down and dirty flesh bag full of sins. Good luck. Angels tend to seem less angelic when you really dissect what they've done, eh? But hey, history is written by the winners, so they probably look good for a reason.